Welcome to the Blitz, the defense analysis podcast. I'm Big Italy 42. Here talking about some top defense plays, courtesy of Josh Shepardson at BChad50. Starting off at the top with my hometown team, the Cincinnati Bengals, facing off against, coincidentally, one of my favorite quarterbacks, Brian Hoyer. And Bengals are 10.5 point favorite here against the Texans. 5,000 on FanDuel, 33 on DraftKings. And this is a team that's been getting after the quarterback. Bringing back Michael Johnson. And having Geno Atkins healthy is huge for that defensive line. 23 sacks so far in the season. And as Josh mentions here, Bengals and Packers up there as the biggest betting favorites of the week. And obviously Aaron Foster gone. Bengals will have to worry about DeAndre Hopkins. But this is also a team that's 20th in points per game. And they're a little bit better than that as far as average, keeping Brian Hoyer upright and not turning the ball over. But at the same time, this is a team that gets after the quarterback a lot. And Bengals have been getting to the quarterback a ton. So I like that call quite a bit. Denver Broncos, as we know, really the best defensive unit in football. Really struggled a little bit last week. The Colts beat them at their own game. It was an impressive win for the Colts. Broncos D didn't look bad by any means, but certainly didn't look like the dominant unit we've seen much of this season. They're facing off against the Chiefs this week. 6.5 point favorites, 5,200 on FanDuel, 34 on DraftKings, 30 sacks, 17 turnovers on the year. And now Aqib Talib is going to be suspended for this game. If you ask me, he should be suspended for longer. Intentionally poking at Dwayne Allen's eye. Really dirty move there, I mean. And DeMarcus Ware is hurt as well. But this is still a team facing off against the Chiefs, who are not a very good offense. They're missing their best player in Jamal Charles as well. And Broncos should still be able to get after the quarterback. And you really only have one wide receiver you worry about on this Chiefs side. So as far as Aqib Talib, not really going to miss him. I think they'll be fine without that. And keep him from making dumb plays at the end of the game and costing his team a chance to win. Value plays the Steelers against the Browns. 4.5 point spread here. 4,600 on FanDuel, 3,000 on DraftKings. 15 turnovers, 22 sacks on the season. Huge game for the Steelers. Now they're going to be missing Ben Roethlisberger once again with a separate injury. Now it's a foot injury. And Landry Jones was fine in the few times that he played here. And Josh McCown still hasn't practiced. Maybe it's going to be Johnny Manziel. Either way, Browns have allowed the most sacks this season at 30. They do not do a good job keeping the ball. Third most turnovers this season at 17. Steelers have done a good job of limiting damage for the most part. Not so much against the Raiders this past week, but for the most part, not allowing a lot of points per game and forcing a decent amount of turnovers. So this is a scenario where Steelers need this win. Pretty meaningless game for the Browns as usual, but the Steelers going to need their defense to step up if they're going to win this game. Tampa Bay Buccaneers next up against the Cowboys. 2 point spread, 4,000 on FanDuel, 2,500 on DraftKings. This is a team that has been giving up quite a few points per game, but Josh says he's not thrilled about this pick, but you need to have someone as a value. They've allowed a lot of points, but they've also done a good job being in the top 10 turnovers forced, 17 sacks, and they're cheap against Matt Castle. Matt Castle played well against the Eagles, but this is a guy who couldn't even throw for 100 yards passing the week before. 2 weeks before that, 3 interceptions. Not a huge ceiling, as Josh mentions here, but this is a team that should be able to get you a nice floor, a couple turnovers, a few sacks as well, give you a little bit of value there for cheap. GPP plays the Green Bay Packers facing off against the Lions. 11 point spread in this one. 4,900 on FanDuel, 32 on DraftKings. And this one, 23 sacks in the season, 12 turnovers. This is a Packers team that 2 weeks ago was still rolling right along, hadn't lost a game. Now they've lost 2 straight games, and this is a big game for them, a division game, one they need to win now that the Vikings are creeping up on them here slowly. Lions have 20 turnovers on the season, more than any other team. 9th most sacks allowed at 22. Packers are huge favorites, like Josh mentioned earlier, and this is a great position for the Packers to really get after Matt Stafford, force him to make bad decisions, and he has been no stranger to making bad decisions this season, so I'm on board with Green Bay Packers as well. Carolina Panthers, one of the better defensive units in football here, and they remain undefeated after yet another big win, this one against the Packers last week. Now, on the road after 3 straight home games, facing off at the Titans, a 4 point spread. They've got 25 sacks and 18 turnovers this year, second lowest yards per play, top 5 in turnovers forced and sacks. Titans have allowed 28 sacks, 4th most in the league here. Marcus Mariota did look great last week, but this is not This is not the Saints secondary. This is not the Saints defensive unit. This is one of the better defensive units in football, the Carolina Panthers. So not going to be easy sledding for Marcus Mariota and company. St. Louis Rams next up. We know the deal with them. 27 sacks on the season. 7.5-point favorites against the Bears. 5,400 on FanDuel, 36 on DraftKings. And, I mean, this is one of the higher floor teams as far as defenses go. They do a great job of getting after the quarterback. Jay Cutler has looked good at times this year. Still hasn't looked great, but he has his moments. And the Rams, top 10 in turnovers forced, 4th in yards allowed per play, 2nd in sacks, and 6th in points allowed. So this is one of the better units overall. Front seven, secondary, probably the best front seven in football, if you ask me. And getting after this team, it's, they've got a rookie in Jeremy Langford under center now, guy really inexperienced, obviously no Matt Forte. The rest of the weapons healthy, but still, it's Jay Cutler, and it's an elite defensive unit. Arizona Cardinals last up at the Seahawks, and Josh mentions this is one's going to turn some heads. 4,700 FanDuel, 39 on DraftKings. And as he mentioned here, this is a straight ceiling chase. If the Palmer and the Cardinals can get a big lead, Wilson's going to likely be having to make plays, and he's going to be getting hit. Seahawks have allowed more sacks than the other team at 31. And the Cardinals' offense is good, but their defense is 5th in yards per play and turnovers forced, and 7th in 7th in points allowed per game. So this is one that's going to fly way under the radar. If you're not a believer in the Seahawks getting it done this week, maybe give the Cardinals a look, because this is an opportunistic defense that can put up points in a hurry. That's going to wrap things up for this week. Find us on Twitter at DF Cafe. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check out the rest of our great content at dailyfantasycafe.com.